Testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2, testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2, testing, testing, 1, 2, 1, 2, do, 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 do. Okay, here we are in Dear Esther Landmark Edition. Let's go. Video, let's see here. Crosshair, yeah, let's actually enable the crosshair. Advanced. Wait for vertical sync, okay. I do like vertical sync, but I also like to turn off motion blur. I'm not seeing an option for motion blur. Okay. Let's go. Start it. And let's not use it direct with commentary.
Dear Esther, I sometimes feel as if I've given birth to this island. Somewhere between the longitude and latitude, a split opened up, and it beached remotely here. No matter how hard I correlate, it remains a singularity, an alpha point in my life that refuses all hypothesis. I return each time leaving fresh markers that I hope, in the full glare of my hopelessness, will have blossomed into fresh insight in the interim.
Okay, I'm getting some stuttering here. Let me look here. Advanced. Yeah, let's bring down the anti-aliasing. Maybe that'll do it. Anti-aliasing tends to be still a little bit. Looks like it goes to the end, and then it just has like a couple little more ticks when you get to the end of it. To the end of a motion. Drop that down to medium. Yeah, you make a move, and then it has like a couple more ticks at the end. That is weird. Let me see if I can drop this down a couple ticks, maybe to 1920 by 1080. And I've got a pretty decent computer. Holy crap. You know, I don't think this one has, maybe mixed reviews. And I was kind of wondering, hey, this is kind of a well-known thing. Why would it have such, less than stellar reviews? But now I'm kind of starting to see maybe it's, yeah, it's like you scan left and right. Alright, I'm going to bring it down to 720. Let's see if that does anything. Looks like it's still showing up on recording. Yeah, oh wow, okay. Well, seeing as that's not even like an issue, I'm going to go. Looks like there's no way to really fix that, so let's bring it back up to full everything, because it's not going to matter anyway. So, yeah, I'll leave the anti-alias. Well, if it doesn't matter anyway. Weird. Oh, jeez. Walking and stuttering. What the hell is going on? Oh my god, this is gonna give me a headache. Okay, there's no jump. This literally motion blur. Oh, and your flashlight comes on automatically. That's kind of neat. Oh, the jittering. I think in a few minutes I'm gonna need to get up and walk away for a few minutes. This is gonna be a problem. Something I can read? Nope. Okay, C, this kind of doesn't make sense. The C is carbon, but carbon is used so much in stuff that they don't even write C, they just write these lines. These lines are kind of like an implied C, if that makes sense. If I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. It has been a long time since I studied chemistry. Oh my god. Gonna morph. Alright, let me take this back down to like minimum wrap. Oh my god. Alright, this is the minimum it'll allow. Advanced. Detail, foliage. Yeah, let's drop detail, foliage. Okay, done. It's still jittering, but, you know, God. I think having less detail is a little bit better, because then when it jitters, it's not like, you're seeing all these fine details jitter. What the hell? What the hell? Okay. Okay, we are going to quit. We are going to reload it. See if that undoes anything. While that's loading, I'm getting something to drink. Okay, here we are back in this. Let's resume.
Dear Esther, the morning after I was washed ashore, salt in my ears, sand in my mouth, and the waves always at my ankles, I felt as though everything had conspired to this one last shipwreck. I remembered nothing but water, stones in my belly and my shoes, threatening to drag me under to where only the most listless of creatures swim.
Oh, man. Okay, you can't take the stairs up there. What the hell? Ugh. Let's try to climb this hill. I guess I'll just have to deal with it. Okay, I'm looking at I got a YouTube monitor on the side screen, and the monitor seems to be going smoothly enough. What the hell is up with this? I'm gonna have to try this maybe without recording it, just to see.
Donnelly reported the legend of the hermit, a holy man who sought solitude in its most pure form. Allegedly, he rode here from the mainland in a boat without a bottom, so all the creatures of the sea could rise at night to converse with him. How disappointed he must have been with their chatter. Perhaps now, when all that haunts the ocean is the rubbish dumped from the tankers, he'd find more peace. They say he threw his arms wide in a valley on the south side, and the cliff opened up to provide him shelter. They say he died of fever 116 years later. The shepherds left gifts for him at the mouth of the cave, but Donnelly records they never claimed to have seen him. I have visited the cave and I have left my gifts, but like them, I appear to be an unworthy subject of his solitude.
Okay. I think I may have answered my own question. I think the wait for vertical sync, maybe the reason why the YouTube monitor is going okay is because it's at a different frame rate. Okay, much better, much better. Oh my god. Okay, I can crank all this stuff back up again. Detail foliage, go. Now I just have to deal with a buzzing in my headset. Yeah, if I don't... Some weird quirk of my machine, if I don't use vertical sync, then I get a buzzing in my headset. Oh well. And I'm getting like a weird square at the bottom of by my crosshair. Oh well. And there's no run, no sprint button, so let's go see what's over here. Oh, is that showing up on this name? I guess not. There's another one.
At night, you can see the lights sometimes from a passing tanker or trawler. From up on the cliffs, they are mundane. But down here, they fugue into ambiguity. For instance, I cannot readily tell if they belong above or below the waves. The distinction now seems banal. Why not everything and all at once? There's nothing better to do here than indulge in contradictions whilst waiting for the fabric of life to unravel.
Yeah, there's the pole we approached earlier. Yeah, it looks like there is making
A wonderful sight. The moon cresting the junction between the cliff path and the stone circle. It cast a shadow of the ridge across the beach, all the world as if you had signed your name in untidy handwriting.
Yeah, there's something down there, but I didn't go see it. Down at the beach. Ooh. Dare we? We dare. Ooh.
Come back.
Die from falling off a cliff once. Okay.
When someone had died or was dying, or was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice, they cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath. You could see them from the mainland or the fishing boats, and know to send aid or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this: to keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh.
Okay, so he's suffering some infections, kind of like a leprosy camp or something? Leper Island?
They were God-fearing people, those shepherds. There was no love in the relationship. Donnelly tells me that they had one Bible that was passed around in strict rotation. It was stolen by a visiting monk in 1776, 2 years before the island was abandoned altogether. In the interim, I wonder, did they assign chapter and verse to the stones and grasses, marking the geography with a superimposed significance that they could actually walk the Bible and inhabit its contradictions?
Like in the mnemonic device or something? I feel like I missed seeing whatever was up on the top there. Whatever, let's keep going. I think I'll probably have to do this again and hit a couple of those spots I missed.
Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life.
You
I would
okay?
leave you presents outside your retreat in this interim space between cliff and beach. I would leave you loaves and fishes, but the fish stocks have been depleted and I've run out of bread. I would row you back to your homeland in a bottomless boat, but I fear we would both be driven mad by the chatter of the sea creatures.
Yeah, it looks like a neuron. Again, the same equation, it looks like. I'll just say sleeping bag, okay, sure. Oh, there's a cliff over there too that we completely missed. Look at that. Alright, definitely seems like this is the sort of game where you're kind of meant to play and replay things. Try to get different stuff. Kind of a neat piano melody. Very much built on vibe, this game.
I've become convinced I am not alone here, even though I'm equally sure it is simply a delusion brought upon by circumstance. I do not, for instance, remember where I found the candles, or why I took it upon myself to light such a strange pathway. Perhaps it is only for those who are bound to follow.
I don't think the guy that we're playing as is the guy writing these letters to Esther. That's my theory. It was some other guy that probably arrived here earlier. I think there's a path leading back down to the sea. Chemistry, ooh. Chemistry books, so they're putting up chemistry symbols that they find in the chemistry book. Let's head back to the sea. Up to the shore. See if there's anything down there. No. like I'm missing something. Alright, looks like that going down this path, like, proceeds onward. I think there's another path going off in that direction. Let's see that first. Or is it just the stream? Not really a path. Yeah, it's just the stream. Okay, waste of time. Alright. Point of no return. Okay, is that the first chapter or something?
Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my Ordnance Survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turn-off for Sanford and the welcome brake services, but although I can always see it in my rear-view mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to head over there at some point. Let's check around the left-hand side first. What other game was
All
it?
night the boy has kept me lucid. I sat when I was at the very edge of despair, when I thought I would never unlock the secret of the island. I sat at the edge and I watched the idiot boy blink through the night. He's mute and he's retarded, and he has no thought in his metal head but to blink each wave and each minute aside until the morning comes and renders him blind as well as deaf-mute. In many ways, we have much in common.
What does that say? Neither did he eat nor drink. I can't get the decipher the rest of the words though. Can we get up on the boat? No. I'm guessing no. Yeah, it doesn't look get up on the boat. Okay. Around. Okay, that's.
I had kidney stones and you visited me in the hospital. After the operation, when I was still half submerged in anesthetic. Your outline and your speech both blurred. Now my stones have grown into an island and made their escape, and you have been rendered opaque by the car of a drunk.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so there's different paths, and I'm wondering what exactly changes depending on which path.
Is this what Paul saw through his windscreen? Not Lot's wife looking over her shoulder, but a scar in the hillside, falling away to black forever.
Okay. Yeah. What is this?
I've begun my ascent on the windless slope of the western side. The setting sun was an inflamed eye squeezing shut against the light shone in by the doctors. My neck is aching through constantly craning my head up to track the light of the aerial. I must look downwards, follow the path under the island to a new beginning.
See, I thought there was a path leading off to the shore. I'm going to see if it maybe reconnects up here somewhere. I'm sure it's probably just a bunch of different dialogue you get. You do go around that way? Yeah. Looks like you just can kind of walk around that way. Something. Or not. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah, looks like there's another path going through over there. Up the hill we go. To the house.
The bothy was constructed originally in the early 1700s. By then, shepherding had formalized into a career. The first habitual shepherd was a man called Jakobsen, from a lineage of migratory Scandinavians. He was not considered a man of breeding by the mainlanders. He came here every summer whilst building the bothy, hoping eventually that becoming a man of property would secure him a wife and a lineage. Donnelly records that it did not work. He caught some disease from his malcontented goats and died 2 years after completing it. There was no one to carve white lines into the cliff for him either. Inventory. A trestle table we spread wallpaper on in our first home. A folding chair. I laughed at you for bringing camping in the lakes. I was uncomfortable later and you laughed then. This diary, the bed with the broken springs. Once asleep you have to remember not to dream. A change of clothes. Donnelly's book, stolen from Edinburgh Library on the way here. I will burn them all on the last morning and make an aerial of my own.
Okay. Yeah, I think we saw that in like the first area. Although I don't think we've come across it. Ooh, there's like a cave over there with something shining in the middle of it. Let's go check that out. Another fluorescent painting. Okay. Oh, is this a different one? Yeah, this looks like it's electronics symbols instead of chemistry. Alright, let's check out the cave if the game will allow us. Ooh. Looks like someone was floating around with a lantern. Creepy.
What to make of Donnelly, the laudanum and the syphilis? It is clearly not how he began, but I've been unable to discover if the former was a result of his visiting the island or the force that drove him here. For the syphilis, a drunk driver smashing his insides into a pulp as he stumbled these paths, I can only offer my empathy. We're all victims of our age. My disease is the internal combustion engine and the cheap fermentation of yeast.
Okay. Don't know who Donnelly is. I don't know. Has he mentioned Donnelly yet?
They found Jakobsen in early spring. The thaw had only just come. Even though he'd been dead nearly 7 months, his body had been frozen right down to the nerves and had not even begun to decompose. He'd struggled halfway down the cliff path, perhaps looking for some lost goat, or perhaps in a delirium, and expired, curled into a claw right under the winter moon. Even the animals shunned his corpse. The mainlanders thought to bring it home unlucky. Donnelly claims they dragged it to the caves to thaw out and rot, but he is proving an unreliable witness.
Ooh, what's that sound? There's some kind of beastie in the cave.
Climbing down to the caves, I slipped and fell and have injured my leg. I think the femur is broken. It is clearly infected. The skin has turned a bright, tight pink, and the pain is crashing in on waves, winter tides against my shoreline, drowning out the ache of my stones. I struggled back to the bothy to rest, but it has become clear that there is only one way this is likely to end. The medical supplies I looted from the trawler have suddenly found their purpose. They will keep me lucid for my final ascent.
Okay, I think this is the way we're supposed to go. So we're supposed to... I think we're supposed to investigate the cave at first. I'd really like to have a sprint button, but, you know, whatever. Can't have people breaking their ankles on the rocks, you know. I'll be careful. Ooh, a candle. Who is here? We've discovered Black Reach. Whee! Finish chapter The Buoy. Okay. Oh, so we were supposed to fall down there. Okay, sure, whatever.
From here, this last time, I have understood there is no turning back. The torch is failing along with my resolve. I can hear the singing of the sea creatures from the passages above me, and they are promising the return of the gulls.
Get more of that paint. Is this where they make the paint? The glowy paint. Yeah, you really don't need the crosshairs. Let me turn that off. I was thinking I was going to need to be picking stuff up, putting stuff down, but we don't even have that in here.
I'd stop the traffic back as far as the Sandford Junction and come up the hard shoulder like radio signals from another star. It took 21 minutes for them to arrive. I watched Paul time it to the second on his watch.
Okay, you definitely got some electronics stuff right here. Yeah, and going back the way we came, there's like another offshoot right here. Cool. Well, only one way to go, and it's down. Very blue. I wonder if I need to... Oh, if you jump... Okay, there's where we were. If you jump down there now, you'll have to loop back around, it looks like. Pretty linear at this point. Some long burning candle.
I'm traversing my own death throes. The infection in my leg is an oil rig that dredges black muck up from deep inside my bones. I swallow fistfuls of diazepam and paracetamol to stay conscious. The pain flows through me like an underground sea.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna need to cross that bridge I saw earlier. I don't know what happens if I try to swim. Yeah. Does not let me. Although I can go back here. Okay, here's where it stops. Okay, so this little part, this little path over here is just in case you fall in, you have a place to crawl out. There we go. Complete waste of time to come over here. Gotcha. Let's see what's up here. Before we cross the bridge. Look, we'll do that and it'll be like the way we're supposed to go. Or actually, it's looking like it is the way we're supposed to go. We're just supposed to cross the bridge for content. This game is laid out kind of weird. I mean, I kind of like that they are making it more quote-unquote natural. But on the other hand, it's, yeah, breaking a lot of the conventions I would have expected. That's simple. I mean, it's video gamey, as in, you know, it's not laid out like a natural cave, but it's not totally video gamey in that they're kind of like signposting you where to go, making it that linear, if that makes sense. I don't know, it's kind of a weird balance. Okay. Watch your shoulders in this room.
This cannot be the shaft they threw the goats into. It cannot be the landfill where the parts of your life that would not burn ended up. It cannot be the chimney that delivered you to the skies. It cannot be the place where you rained back down again to fertilize the soil and make small flowers in the rocks.
I cannot get out. There we go. Okay, so that other road was not. Weird. Behold, Damascus is something. Away from being a city. And it a ruckus heat. Okay, I gotta swim down in here. We're on the move. Neat. What the? Not good being at the very bottom of this. I guess we don't really swim up to the top. Oh! Okay, that was, an illusion. Point of no return. There we go. Alright, what's this next one? Finish the key. Okay. Oh, is this the exact same key? No, this is on the other side. We can go right or left. Alright, let's follow the candles.
I sat here and watched two jets carve parallel white lines into the sky. They charted their course, and I followed them for 21 minutes until they turned off near Sanford and were lost. If I were a gull, I would abandon my nest and join them. I would starve my brain of oxygen and suffer delusions of transcendence. I would tear the bottom from my boat and sail across the motorways until I reached this island once again.
Okay, there's a candle on here on the bridge. Let's go check that out. Alright, and it is. Hey, you can't swim down. Ooh, we're right under the red light. One wall.
I returned home with a pocket full of stolen ash. Half of it fell out of my coat and vanished into the car's upholstery, but the rest I carefully stowed away in a box I kept in a drawer by the side of my bed. It was never intended as a meaningful act, but over the years it became a kind of talisman. I'd sit still, quite still for hours, just holding the diminishing powder in my palm and noting its smoothness. In time, we will all be worn down into granules, washed into the sea and dispersed.
Is that okay? A picture of someone. That Esther. The eponymous Esther. Okay. Parts of the car. Ooh, is there a radio over here? That was cool.
There were chemical stains on the tarmac, the leak of air conditioning, brake fluid and petrol. He kept sniffing at his fingers as he sat by the roadside, waiting as if he couldn't quite understand or recognize their smell. He said he'd been traveling back from a sales conference in Exeter. He'd stopped for farewell drinks earlier, but had kept a careful eye on his intake. You could hear the sirens above the idling traffic.
I think he's talking about the car accident.
From here, I can see my armada. I collected all the letters I'd ever meant to send to you, if I'd have ever made it to the mainland, but had instead collected at the bottom of my rucksack, and I spread them out along the lost beach. Then I took each and every one, and I folded them into boats. I folded you into the creases, and then, as the sun was setting, I set the fleet to sail. Shattered into 21 pieces, I consigned you to the Atlantic, and I sat here until I'd watched all of you sink.
He had not a very effective way of getting someone a letter. I mean, it does look like this place was built up at, not entirely unknown location, but obviously a place people don't go back to. On a sudden, a light from heaven shone around him, and he fell to the ground. We go for a swim? Is that what it's telling us to do? Nope. Or maybe.
Come back.
Drowned once. Okay. So we came from up there. No, we came from down there, so we have to go up the cliff. Okay. There we go. So, if this is it's still civilized enough to have a functioning radio tower, you'd think you could just, mess with the radio tower and then someone would have to come to the island to fix it at the very least. If you're, like, completely abandoned here. Well, you don't even have to know much about radiology or whatever to fix some radios, to mess with it, just, just unplug it even.
The pain in my leg sent me blind for a few minutes as I struggled up the cliff path. I swallowed another handful of painkillers, and now I feel almost lucid. The island around me has retreated to a hazed distance, whilst the moon appears to have descended into my palm to guide me. I can see a thick black line of infection reaching for my heart from the waistband of my trousers. Through the fugue, it's all the world like the path I have cut from the lowlands towards the aerial.
Alright, at some point the person is going to disappear. Maybe once we lose sight of him due to those rocks.
I've begun my voyage in a paper boat without a bottom. I will fly to the moon in it. I've been folded along a crease in time, a weakness in the sheet of life. Now you've settled on the opposite side of the paper to me. I can see your traces in the ink that soaks through the fiber, the pulped vegetation. When we become waterlogged and the cage disintegrates, we will intermingle. When this paper aeroplane leaves the cliff edge and carves parallel vapor trails in the dark, we will come together.
Cool. And as he was pricey dying on his journey. I don't know if I'm reading that right. Preceding. Maybe that's supposed to be proceeding. It's coming near the thing. And he was.
If only Donnelly had experienced this, he would have realized he was his own shoreline, as am I. Just as I am becoming this island, so he became his syphilis, retreating into the burning synapses, the stones, the infection.
Without sight.
Returning to my car afterwards, hands still shaking, and a head split open by the impact. Goodbye to tearful aunts and traumatized uncles. Goodbye to the phenomenal. Goodbye to the tangible. Goodbye Wolverhampton. Goodbye Sanford. Goodbye Cromer. Goodbye Damascus. This cliff path is slippery in the dew. It is hard to climb with such an infection. I must carve out the bad flesh and sling it from the aerial. I must become infused with the very air.
Okay, and it came to pass that as I made my journey, the font they use for these letters is real weird. Yeah, I can't read that from here. Come on. Journey. And something come. Yeah, whatever. Suddenly, they shine from heaven, a great light round about thee, round about me. You could not see.
I have dredged these waters for the bones of the hermit, for the traces of Donnelly, for any sign of Jakobsen's flock, for the empty bottle that would incriminate him. I have scoured this stretch of motorway 21 times, attempting to recreate his trajectory, the point when his heart stopped dead and all he saw was the moon over the Sanford Junction. He was not drunk, Esther. He was not drunk at all, and it was not his fault. It was the converging lines that doomed him. This is not a recorded natural condition. The gulls do not fly so low over the motorway and cause him to swerve. The paint scored away from his car in lines like an infection, making directly for the heart.
Okay. Look at some matching some symbols between the car scratches and carving out the mountains or something. Getting dumbasses.
We will leave twin vapor trails in the air, white lines etched into these rocks.
Ooh.
Dear Esther, I have burnt my belongings, my books, this death certificate. Mine will be written all across this island. Who was Jakobsen? Who remembers him? Donnelly has written of him, but who was Donnelly? Who remembers him? I have painted, carved, hewn, scored into this space all that I could draw from him. There will be another to these shores to remember me. I will rise from the ocean like an island without bottom, come together like a stone, become an aerial, a beacon, that they will not forget you. We've always been drawn here. One day the gulls will return and nest in our bones and our history. I will look to my left and see Esther Donnelly flying beside me. I will look to my right and see Paul Jakobsen flying beside me. They will leave white lines carved into the air to reach the mainland, where help will be sent.
Cool. What? You just jumping off? You don't? You could have done that from much lower. What are you doing?
Come back.
That it? Waggling the mouse. Oh, there we go. Finish chapter The Beacon. Okay. For the Chinese room. Okay. Let's see here. Pretty small team, looks like. Nigel Carrington. Lead with Unity. Oh, geez, back in 2017. Wow. 2007 mod. Okay. Okay, so that has been a Dear Esther Landmark Edition. Obviously, I did not use the developer commentary, but yeah, not bad as walking sims go. I mean, interesting story-ish, I suppose. But they kind of like leave you a lot for you to like piece together, sort of thing. And the thing with the dude like jumping off the beacon at the very end, it's like, okay, what are they trying to say with that? I mean, you have to assume that this dude is just, you know, some new dude that got shipwrecked on the island. So I mean, why would he really care about all of this, or was he actually the protagonist that was narrating? I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, yeah, not bad, not bad. So there we are. See you next time. Later.